I wanted to do a video, Wings of a Great Eagle, and I was doing research on this and have been pondering this and thinking about this and mulling this over for several months. Because one of our friends, my husband and I have a couple that we're friends with, Dan, and him and his wife are so awesome. At the Gathering of the Four Winds, which I have a video about, he had told me about a dream that he had 5 years ago. And in this dream, he had picked up a pair of discarded wings on a path. And there was no body to it, it was just wings. So there were 2 wings of an eagle that were laying on the ground that were obviously dead, which in Native American culture, that's such a desecration. It was horrible. So he ended up picking them up, and he picked them up and he put them in a white cloth and he brought them to his bosom, like he was holding them in his inside of his shirt to care for them. And what happened was it started getting warm, and he thought it was because of his body heat. And it ended up getting warmer and warmer till it got so hot that he had to take out the wings, and he unfolded them from the white cloth and they flew away. So that got me really thinking about, like, wow, this is really something, because the wings of eagle, we all know there's a passage about that in Revelations, and everybody talks about that. And so I started, looking into some other and I saw this in Exodus because I've been thinking about the Passover. And we'll pull this up here, wherever it's at here. Let me find it. And that's observing the feast, okay. Pass that down. I don't need that one. Where is it at? Here's Revelation. And I got this in the Geneva Bible, so I highly recommend, if you haven't read Revelations in the Geneva Bible, whoa, kind of gives a lot more detail and some commentaries that make a lot of sense. Now here is Revelation 12:14. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her. So it says, into the place that YAHUAH had prepared for her. And so this is kind of just helpful. And then it goes through and it talks about for time, times, and half a time, where it gets that. So what's neat is, I was looking in Exodus chapter 19. This is in the Septuagint. So I'm going to read this. This is so awesome. Ye have seen all that I have done to the Egyptians, and I took you up as upon eagle's wings, and I brought you near to myself. And now if you will indeed hear my voice and keep my covenant, ye shall be to me a peculiar people above all nations, for the whole earth is mine. And ye shall be unto me a royal priesthood, a holy nation. These words shalt thou speak to the children of Israel. And Moshe came and called the elders of the people, and he set before them all these words, which God or YAHUAH appointed them. And all the people answered with one accord and said, all things that YAHUAH has spoken we will do and hearken to. And Moshe reported these words to YAHUAH. So here we have chapter 19. This is the picture of Revelations chapter 12. So it seems to be talking or referring to Exodus and coming out of Egypt. So it's like, wow, that's so awesome. And then you have the royal priesthood that people quote in Ephesians. Well, where did they get that at? It had to have come from the first 5 books, which would be the Torah. So I found that very, very interesting, because what happened was, I was thinking, what's the Pesach gonna fall on, according to the creation calendar, and how is that gonna coincide with the Gregorian calendar? Because if you've ever hosted a Passover Seder, it's a lot of work, and you kind of need to start preparing a few months early for it. It is very intense. It's involved. So I started thinking about that, and I'm like, okay, you have the first month which it clearly states in Exodus, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. So Yahuwah is talking about, he said this is the first month, Abib. So then I got, of course, I've been thinking about this calendar and getting, so I'm like, okay, well, now if we have the alphabet, which Eric Bissell talks about, and it explains, how the alphabet talks about the salvation message or about Yeshua within that, I'm thinking, wonder if Abib kind of talks about that. So that would be really interesting, kind of break down the actual word Abib. Because some months don't have any names, like the 4th month. It's really the 4th month. And there's no name attached to it. So, but this month, Abib has, this is the name. So I started thinking about that. So you have Bet. And then it talks about this. I have my cards. Architect builds his dwelling place, a house for us to come into and abide, set apart from the world outside. So what if the actual month is the dwelling place because we honor his commandments, which I thought that was pretty interesting. I'm like, wow, Lord, that's really neat. So, and that would be the Bet. Here's the Hebrew one. So you can go through, and I got this book. My friend let me borrow it. Thanks, Deb. And here is maybe what it was before, and you can see the progression of the letters. So here is Bet. It kind of looks like a backward E. So that was really neat. Like, wow, that's so cool. And then you can go here and look at let's see here, an I. So there's a couple. No, that's not it. That's not it. This is it. This is I. So yard, kind of work. The hand is part of the body that does the work. This letter can also mean throw or worship, both as actions of the hand. So I thought that was really neat because here is Bet. We did a Bet. And then here's Aleph. And so again, this would make sense because if Abib is the first in Oxhead, strength first, author, architect. And so he comes and he tells us this is the first month. And then he makes a dwelling place for us to come into. And then here would be the Ayin, which I've talked about the showbread before. And we looked in the book, and this would be Jeff Benner, Ancient Hebrew Language and Alphabet. Look at that table of showbread. How interesting. That's so cool. So he's showing us, how to dwell in this in a way that's really unique if you break it down that way. So for the Gregorian calendar, it would be 1, 2, 2. So that would be the Pesach, the start. Now, that would be the Gregorian, but the actual original on the creation calendar would be the 14th. So I thought that was really interesting, so I highlighted all of it. And as I was pondering this, I love this. He just kind of revealed. So Abba dwells in the Sabbath. Abba is the root of Sabbath. And how amazing is that? It's like, wow, that is so cool. And then truth, the root of that is Ruth. And remember how, half of, would be a representation of her sister turning away from Israel. They didn't go. And Ruth went with Naomi. And what does Naomi mean? My delight, kindness, pleasantness, beauty, grace, from the root, H 5276, to be agreeable, beauty, sweet, delight. And I thought that was just a really cool picture. Abba dwells with in the Sabbath. Do you dwell in Abba? So if you're gonna, keep his commands, it's not hard. It's beautiful. And I thought it was really awesome. Also, if we take the 6th month, and what that means. And so Gabriel came to Miriam in the 6th month. So 6, so that would be like a vav, because it's the 6th month. And it also means hang on to, coupling, nail, by vow or binding oath. So I thought that was neat, and I started thinking about the actual months and what they could mean, and that's how this kind of developed from there. And here is in Exodus, it talks about, and it shall come to pass on the 3rd day in the morning that there will be thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mount. And I saw this, and it really reminded me of Revelations also. And when the voice of the trumpet sounded long, well, Yochanan also hears the voice of a trumpet. So I thought that was really neat. And I'm like, well, maybe it could be painting a picture of the Exodus, of Passover. So it's definitely something to think about. And so I wanted to share this and get this out there. And this, I don't know if I showed this earlier, but when he said the wings became hot, it's like the wings became alive. So I found a picture that was really neat, that they started becoming alive again. And it's because it's a picture of what he did. Now look at this. This was really interesting. The destroyer is in an Exodus, and it talks about, and Yahuwah will pass through and smite the Egyptians. And when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the 2 posts, Yahuwah will pass over the door, will not suffer the destroyer to come into your houses to smite you. So we're looking at, and wow, we're talking about some major things getting ready to happen. And I looked this up, destroyer. I don't know how to pronounce that. You can do that yourself. It's a primitive root, so it doesn't go back any further than what this is. Ruin, perish, spill, spoiler. To destroy, corrupt, to go, ruin, decay. To be marred, to be spoiled. Pervert, corrupt, deal corruptly, morally. So I encourage you to go back to these root words and look this up, because it is so awesome. And it seems to be painting a picture of something different than what, kind of what we've been taught. Oh, and if you haven't looked this up, this is really interesting. This is in the Geneva Bible, a kind of commentary about Revelations, and what it talks about. The 3rd execution on the floods and fountains, that is on all fresh water in this verse, the effect of which is that many are destroyed by the bitterness of waters. And it talks about, and I did a video on this, and I didn't know this, and it talked about bitter herb. Yeah, that's what it was when I looked it up, and so I thought that was really neat. It was referring to a bitter herb. So I wanted to put this out, and have a blessed and safe Gregorian New Year. Shalom.